Proper gait or walking posture is one of the most automatized movements in the central nervous system. Let's go over a couple of tips to prevent injury. First, let's look at the legs and feet. When patients first come into my office, I always assess leg length discrepancies. If there is, I want to determine whether it's a muscle imbalance or if it's anatomical. Next, I want to determine if their feet are pointed outwards or inwards. How you can tell is I want you to march in place. If your toe is pointing outwards, your leg might be stuck in external rotation. Remember, your hips can internally and externally rotate. When you're walking and you find one of your feet externally rotated, here's a great exercise you can do at home so you can create more mobility in that hip. We're gonna get on the floor and we're gonna go into the 90-90 position. My left hip is an internal rotation and my right hip is an external rotation. The main goal is to keep the knee driven into the floor. Once I've mastered the position with my hands behind me, I can sit up and try to master all the ranges of motion. Next, I'm gonna keep my heel on the ground and I'm gonna switch to the other side. Again, when I'm more comfortable in this position, I'm gonna sit up and try to get more internal rotation of the right leg. Repeat this exercise every day and you'll find that your hips will become much more mobile. Next, you want to be making sure that your patella or your knee is going over the second toe. When you're walking, you don't want your knees to cave inwards. This can cause you pain in your ankle, your knee, and your hip. You also want to make sure that you have full extension of your big toe. There's a lot of spiral connections that attach at your first metatarsal. Your muscles work in unison with each other. Let's call them chains. There's a deep chain that connects from the bottom of your foot all the way up through your body. Your muscles don't work individually. They all work in chains in unison with each other. They have a lot of spiral connections to your great toe. Therefore, you need to get good extension of it to get your whole body involved. Your hips, like your shoulders, are a ball and socket joint. This means that it's made for mobility. When you're sitting on your glutes all day, it's making your glutes tight. What we want to do is constantly move, making our hips nice and mobile. Coupled with the fact that there's a huge muscle that crosses this joint, makes it a huge proponent in movement. The hips transmit energy to the sacroiliac joint and the knees. When our glutes are inhibited, these become the driver of force. That's why we see a lot of people with low back pain and knee pain. The next thing I want to discuss is avoiding quad dominant behavior. If you're sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, you're probably lifting your legs to propel yourself forward, like this. During stance phase, I want you to start activating your glutes. What this looks like is standing on one leg and propelling forward by pushing with your glute. The next thing I want to discuss is the cross crawl. When you lift up your left leg, your right shoulder should follow suit. It looks like this. Really focus on extending your arms to provide good movement in your shoulders. Exaggerate both and make sure they're both symmetrical. If your arms lag behind your legs, you might have a weak core. That's why it's so important to have good core activation. Remember, our body works in chains. Really try to tie everything together to get our spiral line activated. Let's look at proper walking mechanics as an opportunity to create good mobility in our hips and our shoulders. We were born with the perfect ability to crawl, walk, and run. It's only when we assess other people's walking ability that we adopt them to ourselves and create dysfunction in our lives. When we learn bad movement patterns from the people around us, the danger is that we become misaligned. This could put us at risk for a number of injuries that we would have never known started from a faulty movement pattern.